It'd be nice if you could do some kind of holiday song, holy day song. So we're going to try this one. I think you know this one. Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the... Please help me if you know this one. And the mountains in reply, echoing their joyful strains. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Shepherds, why this jubilee? Why your joyful strains prolong? What the gladsome tidings be, which inspire your heavenly song? Glory in excelsis Deo. Excelsis Deo. Okay, now that we're warmed up, we'll try the first verse one more time. Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains, and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyful strains. Excelsis Deo. Glory in excelsis Deo.
Good morning, everybody. Lovely to see you here today. I hope you like my... I think it's a little distracting if I have the lights on, so I kept them off. My inner light is shining. So, happy Christmas Eve, and welcome to CSL Rogue Valley in partnership with Medford Unity. I'm Reverend Stephanie Clark, and Reverend Kimberly, our senior minister, is celebrating Christmas with her family in Arizona. So it's my honor to be presiding this morning. We are an inclusive, spiritually progressive faith community, and we welcome each of you, no matter where you happen to be on your personal spiritual journey. If you're here for the first time, a very special welcome. Can you put your hand up if you're here for the first time today? Oh, one person is, oh, great, welcome. So we'll get you a welcome packet so you can see what we're about here, and thank you very much for being here. Our musicians this morning are Julie Wright with the Inspire Choir. Woohoo! Just want to honor the choir and the dedication to go and practice every week. And Julie, thank you for being such a wonderful leader. Really, it's just lovely to have live voices here in the morning. And our other musician is Ami Taban, is that right? Ami Taban. So let me just tell you a little bit about Ami. Ami shares his music at concerts throughout the country and at events with spiritual teachers, including Matthew Fox, Gangaji, and Martha Creek. His lyrics and music are inspired by years of meditation, study, and wisdom-based spiritual practice. He tours widely, appearing at up to 100 events per year in the US and into Canada. He has toured, recorded, and performed with artists including Katana, who's one of my favorite musicians of all time, Kathy Zavada, and Jennifer Berzan. Ami is an award-winning songwriter who's been influenced by a wide variety of musical traditions. He especially loves sharing songs and chants that open the heart and point audiences back to the peace that lives within. So welcome back, Ami. It's lovely to have you here again. Thank you. So this morning, our meditation was facilitated by Joy Winscott. Thank you, Joy, for the lovely meditation and for encouraging us all to sing Silent Night at the end. That was a beautiful finishing touch. Our Reverend Kim Bibo will be doing our invocation this morning and lighting the Advent wreath. And practitioner Karen Jordan is holding out the high watch for us and praying for everybody throughout the service. A reminder now to please turn off your cell phones if you haven't already, or put them on airplane mode. And let's take a collective deep breath together and allow the music to take us inward as we prepare for our invocation. So I'm going to ask you to please hold your applause after the song, and then Reverend Kim Bibo will come up and take us into our invocation. Thank you. Thank you, Ami.
Listen to the song of the mountain. Remember the ancient memories. Go into the heart of silence. Drink from the nectar of eternity. Opening to the love that's always been, the love that forever shall be. Go into the heart of silence. Drink from the nectar of eternity. Drink from the nectar of eternity. Drink from the nectar of eternity.
For the 4 weeks of Advent. And as this 4th week, the joy that is ours to hold. And going into that beautiful presence of Spirit, the beautiful presence of Spirit within, and knowing all the oneness, all the wholeness, the joy and the beauty of the season. In that oneness and wholeness, there is God in its infinite oneness and the presence, the perfection and the joy. God is the light, the love, and the life that is everywhere present, through and as each one of us. And all that God is, we are. And in that oneness, God is flowing through each and every one of us. We are never separate, and there is the wholeness of perfection in each and every one. In the light that shines through, in the light that shines around us, and the light that is us. And all that I am, God is, as are all of we and us. I know this voice and the mind that is used from God, by God, through us, is shared and expanded by that presence. And in each and every one of us who are here today, special thanks for the sound crew and the video crew and those who are watching today, because that sound crew and video crew are here. And special thanks for the kitchen staff, people who work who just provide us with little snacks for afters and coffee before. And just that, the music, so beautiful, so joyful and lovely. And all of you who are here to embrace each other, the words that will be spoken by Laura Stewart, and just every moment of this absolutely wonderful time together. And in that, I am so, so grateful. And I release this into the law, knowing that it is so, and so it is. I'd like to read from the Unity magazine this morning about joy. With joy, I prepare for the rebirth of the Christ within. Christmas Eve brings back memories of childhood anticipation. What's in the packages under the trees? What other goodies will there be in the morning? Now I relish the anticipation of the joy my gifts will bring as I watch my loved ones opening their presents. This joy blooms in my heart as the Advent season draws to close and I prepare to receive my most precious gift, the rebirth of the Christ within. I still my mind and become present. I contemplate the awe of the shepherds as they heard of Jesus' birth. I think of the veneration of the kings who traveled to honor him. I surrender my feelings of awe and reverence, preparing for the joyous rebirth of light and love within me. And from Luke 2:10, but the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid, for see, I am bringing you good news of great joy for all the people." And so it is.
So I was told that the talk was a lighthearted talk today. So I thought, well, maybe I can play a funny song. And I don't really know a lot of funny songs, but this one's kind of moving that direction. It makes me chuckle. It's a song about being mature and taking the high road. It's called "Because It's All Your Fault." I acted out of fear. I lost touch with what was true. I was hurt by the actions and the words from you. So I bared my teeth and I roared my mighty roar. I went into my cave and I closed the door. Because it's all your fault, because you started it. These walls around my heart are 3 feet thick. The armor in my chest, it numbed me to the core. It kept out the pain, but it kept out something more. It cut me off from source and the link to truth within. So I'm taking down this wall so the light can pour back in. Even though you started it, even though it's all your fault, I'm taking down this wall and opening my heart. Anger is a knife that's sharp at both ends. If I'm cutting me and I'm slicing you, nobody wins. And all this keeping score about who is right and who's at fault, it just costs too much. So I choose an open heart. Yeah, it's a heavy weight to bear, who is right and who's at fault. So I leave it all with God, and I choose an open heart. I choose peace, I choose an open heart.
Thank you so much, Emmy. Lovely song. So in the spirit of joy and lightheartedness, when Kim was praying for us, I was inspired with a very irreverent religious joke. Would you like to hear it? Before I introduce Laura. So it was Christmas Eve, it was cold. In the manger, Jesus had just been born. The shepherds had they'd heard the angels, and they had come to the manger to welcome and to worship the baby. Mary and Joseph were busy discussing the name. What should we call this boy? And then one of the shepherds entered the manger, and by mistake he trod on a rake, and it came up and hit him in the forehead, and he went, "Jesus Christ." And Mary looked at Joseph and said, "Yeah, that's the name. We were going to call him Abi, but Jesus Christ, that's the name." Okay, all right, now, let's get serious. So now I want to introduce our speaker this morning, my dear sister and friend, Laura Stewart. Many of you know Laura. She's been part of this community for the last 20 years. And for the last 10 years, she's been one of our practitioners. And Laura, as probably most of you know, is about the business of completing ministerial school. How long have you been in school, Laura? Years and
4.5 years.
Your whole life and previous lifetimes, yeah. About 4.5 years, so she's in the final stretch right now. And, you know, when the decision is made, my experience is it's not our decision, the decision is made for us. There's a call upon our heart to be a minister, and it's at that point that the ministerial work seems to begin on the external level, but it's already complete in your heart when you get the call. So this is really Reverend Laura Stewart, just by the way. And so Laura, please come up and let's hear from you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Wow. Reverend Laura Stewart. I actually got my diploma yesterday. They came in the mail. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. Greg's like, are you going to frame it? Are we going to put it up on the wall? And I'm just in awe that it's there. So, yeah, we'll touch on that later. I'm really grateful to be here this morning. I just want to wish everyone a happy holiday, a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, everything in between. This is just an amazing time of year, and I have always loved Christmas. There's been a little bit of resentment because we weren't allowed to put up the Christmas tree in our house until after my birthday, so we were always about 2 weeks behind everybody else. But this is just an amazing part of the year. I grew up believing in Santa Claus, and there's that part in me that still does, without a doubt. I can remember when I was really little writing letters to Santa. We'd go to the mall and sit on Santa's lap and tell him everything that we wanted, and that has not changed. There's some advantages to being 4'11". You don't crush Santa's lap. He has no issue with taking my request for world peace. So yeah, that spirit's still alive and well. When we were little, my dad used to take us driving on Christmas Eve to look for Rudolph and the sleigh. And it was so exciting. I mean, there's just something about Santa Claus. I don't know if I believed in Santa first or God first, or if it was kind of a merging of the two together, but they've always been in my life. And I can remember when we were out driving around, my dad would be sure that he had seen Rudolph's nose. And of course, I wanted to believe him. You know, I wanted so badly that I'm like, yeah, I see him, I see him. By the time we would get home, Santa had already visited, and I absolutely had to corner my mom and find out everything that she could tell me about Santa Claus. What did he smell like? How white was his beard? Is he really that big? Are his boots that shiny? And I could hardly wait. You know, here I am 5 or 6 years old. I could hardly wait until I was my mom's age and I would get to meet Santa Claus. And needless to say, there was a little bit of a letdown a few years later. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And yet, when my mom was talking to me about the joy of Christmas and the spirit of Christmas, the love, the playfulness, that has always been inside of me. When she told me the truth about Santa, a part of me wasn't completely surprised because it wasn't lost on me that Santa's handwriting looked a lot like my mom's. I was really hoping it was just a coincidence, but it wasn't. So I find it really interesting that I kind of had to come to a reckoning between, believe it or not, Santa and God, because it also wasn't lost on me that so many of the traits that Santa has are those traits inherent within God. Omnipotence, omnipresence, all-knowing, sees us everywhere. Both Santa and God have our inherent best interest at heart. They're everywhere present. There's that whole magical time-space continuum that they jump around. They can be everywhere all at once, multiple times, everywhere. And our culture also kind of ties the two of them together. They're in songs and books and movies. I mean, they're just inherently a part of our life. And I just lost my train of thought. This is great. All right, God, help me out here. So, you know, growing up, Santa was so much like God that I'd mix the two of them up together. I mean, they were both old white men living up in the sky, looking down on us, and they came with conditions and expectations. We were expected to be good, and they knew if we weren't. And they kind of had this agenda. If we were good, we got our Christmas presents. So our good behavior was warranted. And if we weren't, well, there's this whole, coal thing that people have talked about. I never witnessed the coal experience, but I had some friends who did. God could come down a lot harsher. God didn't just withhold a Game Boy or your favorite doll. There were all sorts of other things that could happen if you ticked God off. But what's interesting is that as I grew older, where God's the universal, and Santa was the universal, everyone knows who God is, everyone knows who Santa is, I came to realize that I shared Santa with everybody else in the world. And yet the older I got, and as my relationship with God began to grow and expand, it became really personal. I can only explain my God to you as a feeling, as this amazing presence that shows up at the most wonderful times in the most magnificent ways. Whereas Santa would tell us, I know if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. God has taught me and told me beyond a shadow of a doubt, I don't have to be good, I am good. We are that inherent goodness that shows up in the joy of Christmas. And yet we're also that divine love expressing through our humanity in everything we think, say, and do. We are inseparably one with that infinite all, which is God. Whereas we only get Santa like November through maybe the Epiphany on January 6th. So I'm grateful to still have that Santa Claus experience, but I'm even more grateful to have that God experience that's going to be with me as long as I'm here and ever beyond, and the same is true for you. So thank you for letting me share today. And I would like to ask Will Richardson to come up while we read a lovely Christmas book with you. It's one of my favorites. It's by Neil Donald Walsh, and it's called Santa's God. Santa's God. It was the middle of the night, not just any night, but Christmas Eve. And Melinda was at the window, searching the sky and trying hard as she could to stay awake. She was determined that this year she was not going to fall asleep. This year she was going to see him if it was the last thing that she did. So naturally, her ears perked up when she heard a thud up on the roof. She ran down the stairs, and there he was, right in front of her, Santa Claus. I knew you were real, she said, a lot louder than what she wanted to. I just knew it.
Well, of course I am. He chuckled and turned around, looked around and looked at her. He didn't even seem surprised that Melinda was awake. Want to come on down the stairs and have a little talk?
Wow, yes. And I scampered down the stairs to give Santa a great big hug. You act like you were expecting me, she said.
Well, I was.
You were?
Well, of course. Every year, I pick out one child to talk with when I visit all the children's homes. And this year, I picked you.
Really?
Yeah, because I knew you'd be waiting up for me. How did you know that? I just read your line.
You sure did. Really? How did you know that?
Oh, sweetheart, Santa knows everything. I even know what size slippers your grandma wears and what color she likes. You know?
With that, he gave me a great big wink and pulled a beautifully wrapped box from his sack and placed it under the tree. You know my Grammy's favorite color? How could you find out stuff like that?
Remember, I've known Granny since she was your age.
I thought about this for a long time while Santa placed more gifts under the tree next to the first one. Santa, do you really know everything?
Yep. For instance, I know you have chocolate chip cookies, my favorite kind, and a glass of milk for me. But you forgot to put them out. You left them in the kitchen.
Oh my goodness, you're right. I'll go get them right now. When she returned, all the gifts had been placed under the tree, and Santa was sitting in the big comfy chair by the fireplace.
Thank you, sweetheart. I'm really going to enjoy these. I'm sure I won't leave a single one.
Oh, please do. Please leave just one behind.
What an unusual request.
It's so I can know that you are actually here, that I didn't just make it up. It'll be our secret signal.
Wow, what a perfectly yummy idea.
So if you know everything, can I ask you any question at all?
Any question at all.
How do you get to everyone's house in the world in one night?
Simple. I stop time.
Oh, I never thought of that. Well, how do you get down the chimney when you're so big and the chimney's so small?
Easy. I just made myself small.
Wow, I never thought of that either. But what if the house doesn't have a fireplace?
Why, I just use the front door. You know what? It's not nearly as much fun, though.
Okay, tell me this. How do reindeer fly?
They dine on a magic soup that Mrs. Claus prepares for them.
I'm gonna have to get me some of that. Where's the North Pole?
It's way up north, where there's so much snow, it's entirely hidden.
How many elves are there?
Not as many as people think. They're really very rare.
How many children are gonna get cold tonight?
None.
None?
None. Nope, not one. You see, there is no such thing as a bad boy or girl. Sometimes children do things that they wish they hadn't done, just like adults. But that doesn't make them bad. It just means they forgot themselves for a moment.
Santa certainly had some good answers, and Melinda was almost out of questions. But then she remembered the most important question of all. It was a question that she'd always wanted to ask. Santa, who's the real God?
My goodness, he said. That's a pretty big question for such a little person. It could be the biggest question ever. What is it that made you ask Santa that?
Well, my friends dared me to do it. When I told them that I was certain I was going to meet you tonight, they said, yeah, sure. If you want us to believe that you actually talked to Santa, you need to ask him a question that only he knows the answer to. And then you're going to have to come back and tell us what that answer is.
I see.
So I thought I'd ask you about God, because some of the kids in school pray to Allah, some to Krishna, some to Buddha, some to Jehovah, some to Allah, some to Yahweh. Santa, which God do you pray to?
Who is Santa's God? Santa has been asked many questions by many children in many places for many years, but no one had ever asked him a question quite like that. So Santa had to think for a moment about how to answer. Then he remembered something he had seen above the fireplace when he first got to Melinda's home. What's that over there on the mantelpiece?
That's my daddy's collection of Santa Clauses. He's got one from almost every country in the world. And now they're all over the house. They're on the mantle, on the windowsill, under the tree. They're just everywhere.
Can you tell me about them?
Sure. But what about the question I asked you?
Oh, I'll answer that for sure. But I'm just curious about these little statues. Who is this one?
Oh, that's St. Nicholas. He's one of my favorites. He was a bishop in the city called Myra, which is now in Demir. That's in Turkey.
Well, you sure know an awful lot about him.
My daddy tells me the story of each Santa every Christmas. And I've practically memorized them. Anyway, Nicholas was so nice to so many people that they made him a saint. And he performed miracles, and they almost always involved acts of kindness and giving.
Oh, and this one here?
That's Père Noël. He brings presents from all the girls and boys in France. And that one's Weichsmann from Germany. And that one is Dutch and is called Sinterklaas. Then there's Julemanden from Denmark and Sweetie Mikolauf from Poland, Father Christmas from England, Santa Claus from Switzerland, and...
Whoa! You really do know them all.
Now, this is one Santa called Koroshu from Japan, and Jolopuki from Finland, and Santi from Ireland, and Sveti Nikola from...
There are so many.
Yes, there are.
Then how do you know who to send your Christmas last to? Which one is the real Santa?
Then she jumped up quite suddenly because the greatest idea had just come to her. Imagining herself as Santa Claus, she exclaimed, "They're all the real Santa Claus. They're all you. You just dress differently and call yourself by a different name when you're in different places."
Now, why do you suppose I would do that? Why not just look the same and have the same name wherever I go?
Because
why?
Because you want the people in all those different countries to know you when they see you, so you dress just the way they do, and they give you a name that they like. Call me whatever you want. Wonderful.
You know, you're right, Melinda. That's very wise of you. And you are exactly, perfectly, absolutely right.
I felt very proud and very happy. I'd asked a really hard question, and I'd figured the answer out all by myself.
Now I have something special to tell you.
Would you like to know what Santa said? Yes. It's the same way with God. Wow. I had never thought of that. Now, maybe it was all the excitement of actually meeting Santa Claus. Maybe it was all the questions and the answers. but I suddenly became very, very sleepy, and it was really hard for me to keep my eyes open.
Perhaps it's time for you to go to sleep now. After all, you have a busy morning. And he carried her to the bedroom, put her in bed and tucked her in. Good night, honey.
Night-night, Santa. Thanks for talking with...
But that was all Melinda managed to get out before she fell fast asleep.
When I woke up the next morning, I raced to the living room, and there were all the gifts arranged underneath the Christmas tree for the entire family. Everything that happened last night seemed kind of fuzzy. Did Santa really come, or did Mom and Dad actually put all the presents underneath the tree? I quickly turned and looked at the table next to the comfy big chair. There was the cookie plate with a milk glass, but both of them were empty. Empty. Not a single cookie was there. Just crumbs. No cookie was left. No special signal. I almost broke into tears. Mommy and Daddy must have come down and ate the cookies and just made it look like Santa had been here. I'd never been so sad in my entire life. Then I happened to glance up at the mantelpiece and noticed that the Santa Claus from my country wasn't there anymore. My eyes darted frantically around the room, and then I saw it. The Santa statue was nestled on a branch in the middle of the Christmas tree. And there, leaning up against the statue, was...
one chocolate chip cookie.
The end. Thank you, Will. So I'd just like to take us into a very short treatment as we close this out. So just taking a deep, centering breath, relaxing into the peace of this perfect moment, realizing that right here and right now, absolutely everything is God. Perfect peace, wholeness, love, abundance, and joy. Knowing that everything is just the way that it should be on this Christmas Eve. I simply give great thanks knowing that this holiday season has been unfolding perfectly in divine right order and divine right timing. That true spirit of Christmas lives in our hearts. And that as we awaken in our consciousness to a greater and greater awareness of all that Spirit is and all that we are, that consciousness becomes a beautiful reflection of our lives around us. We're able to look at one another through eyes of love and recognition. The divine in me honors and recognizes the divine in you. All is well and all is holy on this holy of holy times. There is nothing missing and nothing lacking. So for this and so much more, I am incredibly grateful. Grateful to share this day with you. Grateful to carry the love that we hold in our hearts out into the world around us, raising the vibration of our planet, allowing others to recognize their divinity, bringing it to the light, knowing their sacredness, their holiness. So I'm incredibly grateful for this, knowing that all is well as I release this into the spirit of love and the action of the law, knowing that all is well, all is perfect, all is truly holy, and so it is.
So let's give Laura a round of applause, and Will too. Wonderful. perfect Christmas talk. Thank you, Laura. So now it's time to share our tithes and offerings. And we're deeply grateful here for your continued financial support. And I'm going to ask our ushers to come forward. And as they're coming forward, I'd like you to join me in repeating our giving affirmation. So just take your checks or your cash, whatever it is you have, and hold it to your heart. If you generally tithe or give online, don't worry. Just when the basket comes around, just hold your hand over it and bless the basket. So repeat after me, please. Graciously I give. From a place of love. Knowing that as I give, so do I richly receive. And so it is. Thank you. No, it's just this during just this during the it's good enough. Thank you, Emmy. And I forgot to mention, if you're watching online, please make a donation via our website. You click on the donate button on the top right-hand corner of the homepage. Thank you. Okay, so now it's time for our announcements. The Unity Prayer and Reading Group and Tai Chi meets at 10:30 and 11:30 a.m. respectively on Tuesdays. There's a Christmas Day potluck luncheon here at 1 o'clock tomorrow. If you haven't signed up but like to go, is there still space? Can that still work, Viv? Yeah? Okay. So if you'd like to come and join the potluck luncheon at 1 o'clock tomorrow, you can sign up outside in Bosworth Hall and bring your potluck offering when you come tomorrow morning. Registration is now open for new classes in January. So Reverend Kimberly is going to teach a 6-week Science of Mind Foundations course. It's going to start on Monday, the 8th of January, starting at 3 in the afternoon until 5:30. It's going to be here at the center. And then I'm going to be teaching a visioning class. It's also 6 weeks. It's going to start on Wednesday evening, the 10th of January, starting 5:30 in the evening and finishing at 8 o'clock. And there are sign-up sheets for both of those courses. The prices are... if you want to do the early bird discount and pay before the 31st of December, it's $145, and that includes a $45 registration fee for the CSL home office. So if you want to do the early bird registration, it's a $45 deposit. You can pay by a check or online, and after the 1st of January, the regular tuition will be $165 for both classes. So there's an increase of $20 if you wait till after the 1st of January. You can sign up for our weekly e-newsletter here in Bosworth Hall or email us at cslroguevalley@gmail.com. You can submit any prayer requests in our prayer box at the back of the sanctuary, and there's a Unity prayer box in Bosworth Hall. Or you can send a prayer request into our website, cslroguevalley.org. And we invite you to stay for coffee and soup in Bosworth Hall right after the service. Practitioners, would you come up and join me, please, for our closing song? The practitioners are available after service for a 5-minute miracle. So before you leave the sanctuary, before you go home and do whatever you need to do for Christmas, please ask one of these practitioners to pray for you. It can be for anything. It can be for a joyous Christmas festival. It can be for someone you're concerned about who's not well. It can be for anything. So don't miss this opportunity to get prayer. All right, so before we go into our final song, I'd like you to repeat this benediction after me. Would you like to stand up and do it? Okay. Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
It is this thing called life. Life is in my mind. Life is in my body. Life is in my affairs. I accept it. I bless it. And I claim it. Just the way it appears. And just the way it appears not. Thank you, life. Okay, thank you. Let's join in the song.
Let